The dragon has risen from the ashes, back with a vengeance, mentoring young dragon Venus icons for a free lifestyle, free style body, mind, spirit, cooking. Now, this is not a next episode of the Avengers. This is World on a Plate, and you're listening to Ragnar. I'm your host. This is a World Chef Podcast. And if you didn't guess it, in this episode, we're going to talk about mentoring young chefs, how anybody can become a mentor. And in fact, everybody should become a mentor. And this is why I have with me the dragon chef himself and the master Yoda, German Lamb, and the young Padawan, Isaiah Gerrard. Welcome, guys.
Hey, good morning. Good evening.
Hey, good morning to you. Yeah, good morning to you.
Good afternoon.
I was trying to, like, how do you like the introduction? I was trying to be inspired by you, German, your your book and your talks, and this is your second podcast. You're a 2 times veteran now, and
well, I would say this, right? We each have a different chapter. And the last time when I was here, this time right here, I would say this one here is probably the most satisfying, enriching, because you have a human being in front of you. So it's not food where it doesn't talk back to you. So that is the beauty of life right here.
hey, so for our listeners here, if they haven't checked it out, so we had an episode with you, was very inspiring, episode 49. So 49, check it out. And so German shares his incredible story of his battle with cancer and how food and philosophy and the fighting spirit got him through this. And this is like what German is now his passion and his mission now to mentor others. Hey, German, maybe I'll start with you then for like a first little question. So why don't you tell us who Isaiah Gerrard is, and what is your relationship?
Well, I would say this: Isaiah hit the lottery. And what I mean by that is, wealth is one thing, but to actually meet someone and say, you know what, I'm going to mentor you. And the word is very powerful, but it's also very, it's empty, because you're connecting with someone. But then I said to him, you have to thank your parents, because your parents instill the basic core of discipline and structure within you. And once you have that as a human being, anyone can actually add bricks to your foundation. So to me, it's very rare, and especially in today's generation. And you got to look at, Isaiah and I, there's a big gap. It's like, hyperspace. You know what I mean? Usually it does not connect where there's harmony, there's respect, and there's communication with each other. So to me, I'm going to let Isaiah talk about, his journey.
Yeah, this is his show. So hey, let's bring Isaiah into the conversation here. So Isaiah, I mean, yeah, I was on your podcast. I know that a little bit about your background. You are studying right now. You're studying at the Culinary Institute of America. The very prestigious school in the U.S. in Hyde Park, New York, and well, completing your bachelor's degree. So you've come far away already in bachelor in food business management. And you were the immediate past president of the ACF Young Chef Club. And so you've been quite involved. And as I said, you're the shining bright star of tomorrow. But tell us now this relationship with German. So how did that come about?
Yeah, so Chef German Lamb, thank you for that powerful and great introduction. One of the strongest words to describe Chef German Lamb is icon, and he gets that description so easily because it has to do with the way we met as well. Actually, the ACF, they wrote an article on me and they posted it on their social media. And Chef Lamb, he reached out to me. I didn't know who Chef Lamb was. I didn't have any idea of what he did, but he reached out to me and he said, "Do you have time to set up a call? Can we talk?" I didn't know what he wanted to talk about. I was just like, okay, this older chef is trying to, set up a time to talk to me. I assumed, okay, never know what could come out of this. So I was like, all right, let me open my mind and let me set up a time to talk to him. And going into the conversation, I just introduced myself, what I do for the Young Chefs Club, my plans for the future. And we started talking from there. And that's kind of where the mentorship and our relationship kind of began from there. And Chef Lamb just kind of introduced me to the idea of freestyle lifestyle. He told me his story. He told me about the having a balanced mind, body, and soul. And that kind of intrigued me. And I was like, wow, this is different from what most chefs would tell you. This is actually somebody that desires to have a relationship and desires to mentor me and kind of make me better. So that's kind of what begun our relationship and kept it strong throughout. So then from there, I started to kind of find ways to get Chef Lem involved with the things that I was doing in the ACF. So I had him on my first, one of my webinars that I did for the ACF. And then from there, I started adding him into more and more things that I was doing with the ACF. And then when my term was over for the Young Chefs Club president, I went to Chef Lam. I was like, I definitely want to still keep on nurturing this relationship and want to continue on and doing more things. So then we decided to start our own podcast, and then that's where I'm now going into episode 8 next week. So it's been really big, and I want to say Chef Lam is definitely someone unique in the way where most chefs wouldn't have this as nurturing of a relationship or mentorship with most young chefs, especially with the age gap that we have. It's very rare to find.
That's right.
Yeah, I definitely got to say Chef Lamb has that cool swagger, and he was still getting the job done. So that's definitely what he means to me, and kind of how we met and where our relationship is today.
Yeah, no, that's a great introduction, I say, and because Chef German here is is a special guy. We know him, and German, you are the dragon warrior. You're the the chef. Now I'm putting your words into my mouth here, but you're the Chef Yoda on a mission to inspire and motivate and create the passion. Where young chefs are starting their career, and you use a lot of these superhero references that I'm now putting in my mouth. These are your words really that I'm talking about now. So this is really your your passion, your mission, and that swag. Like I said, you have that, like the way you talk. But tell us more. What is the freestyle lifestyle? What is the whole purpose of it?
Well, if you think about this beautiful profession we're in the culinary hospitality, if it's about mastering the art and food part, I would say there's an amazing chef in the world, tasting menus, Michelin chef, master chef, but mastering the art of the human being, that is a very difficult area, because you got to go through the good, bad, and ugly. And to me, when I use the word freestyle, I look back at my journey of the mentor chefs that I met, and they taught me, the French art. But when it came to body, mind, and spirit and food, that's where, martial arts came along, and that's where Bruce Lee came along. And I was like, you know what? It makes sense, because if your body, mind, and spirit and food are not connected as one, then when you're cooking, you're missing something. And to me, cooking is, the chi, the energy within you. And it's very hard to get it from a book. And actually, you need it from a human being. So, the martial art is teaching you about how to heal yourself, how to strengthen yourself, how to repair yourself. So one way, with my journey, 2017, when cancer came into my world, I wrote this book, and it's on Amazon. It's called The Dragon Turns to Water. Chef German Lamb fights cancer with a freestyle lifestyle. And as chefs right now, especially after COVID, it's a very challenging environment and culture. So if you can't become water as you go into this profession, then I would say you're going to have a lot of turbulence. So to me, it's something that, I created my philosophy, my principle. But that's the beauty of being a chef. We like to create our own recipe. We learn from others, but then we revise it. So to me, Isaiah right here, he's able to just pick it up because he has foundation. And that's the whole thing about learning. When you have a foundation, everything, it's so easy. It's like riding a bicycle.
Mm. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, and Isaiah, I mean, in your young career, you worked, you worked in some privileged, great restaurants. You attending U.S. most privileged school, some great experience from great restaurants, working under some great chefs. And so from your experience and to the time that you've gone through that and you meet German, so how does what German is saying resonate with you? Was it like, do you feel like, wow, there was actually always something missing, or like this can really help me to step it up, or?
Yeah, I definitely think it resonated hugely in my life, and working in the different restaurants I have, having the different experiences that I've had, I realized that his philosophy of having a balanced mind, body, spirit, and soul is one of the most important and crucial things that you could have as a chef. Actually, when I was in my externship in Las Vegas, this is before I met Chef Lam or anything, I never made that a priority. I always made work my priority. I always made yes, chef, yes, chef. And never thought about myself. Always, it's good to say yes to every opportunity, but I never took care of myself first. Never took care of my well-being, my health. And I ended up having to go to the ER after work. I actually passed out, and my hands were all tightened up. My body was tingling. I couldn't breathe, so I had to go to an ER. And I was there for the night, and that was because I didn't lack of taking care of myself, not eating right, and not drinking water throughout the day. I was extremely dehydrated, low in potassium. So that was kind of a wake up call to, okay, I need to start taking care of myself because this isn't sustainable. And so when Chef Lam started mentoring me, I realized that is super, super important. It's important to take time for yourself, make sure you're eating right, you're working out, so you can maintain yourself. Because the kitchen, when you're working in the kitchen, it's a lot of work, a lot of on your feet for 8, 10, 12 hours on your feet working. So in order to sustain that lifestyle, you have to have something to kind of go to, or something that keeps you sustained. And a lot of chefs, they turn to drugs, alcohol, something to numb the pain. But kind of Chef Lam, he taught me that the proper way is nourishing your body with the right things, so that way you can maintain it without falling into the other traps of the typical rock star chef that most people do, and turn into, or like Chef Lam likes to say, the Chef Boyardee, going home, stuffing yourself with everything you could find to kind of relieve the pain and cope. So I think that's one of the biggest. And then discipline is another big thing that Chef Lam talks about a lot. And it's good to have discipline in your life and in the kitchen. And kind of when you have discipline and you're good in the mind, when something goes wrong in the kitchen, you know how to react to it. So I think those are some of the biggest things that Chef Lam has taught me.
Mm-hmm. I know, I mean, that's extremely selfless, and German. I guess when you were a young chef, you didn't find this sort of support, or maybe you did, I don't know, but it's probably too rare nowadays that as a leader, as a manager of a kitchen, as the head chef, that you're actually thinking about the well-being of the young people, that you're actually responsible for them, not just to give them the techniques and knowledge, but also to bring them up as people. So for German, so for you, I mean, I know I hear Isaiah stories. Actually, I didn't know that you actually were at like a brink of a burnout, and that you had to pick yourself up. And actually, it makes a whole lot of sense. Then what you're saying is how that resonates with you, what German is telling you. But for you, German, yeah, you came a long way. and now you sort of made it your mission to share that experience with others. And so reaching out to Isaiah, what would you say to other chefs? You know, why I mean, how can you inspire others? What did you find most rewarding of giving your time to a young chef to mentor them? What is the reward to you? Can you talk about that?
I wouldn't say reward, but I would say I call it a gift of life, because that's what, as humans, whatever profession we're in, is we receive, then we share to the next generation. So if you want our industry to be amazing, to be strong, to be vibrant, to always have that pipeline of new blood in, well, then, the Yodas, they have to kind of like open their heart, open their mind, open their passion. Because when you mentor someone, it's like I said, it's painful, it's challenging, but it's also rewarding, because you have to connect with words, you have to connect with body, the movement. So in a lot of ways, you can't BS it. And one way, to me, I enjoy it, because throughout my life, martial arts. And that's one thing I would say, when I worked at the Ritz-Carlton Boston Hotel, I met a coworker, and he graduated from CIA, and, he studied different martial arts, and, I studied different martial arts, and we just kind of came together. And to me, that's what, the culinary world, it's about meeting people from all over the world with different ideas, and now you share. So to me, I would say, think about all the amazing chefs we have in the world, and they just took one mentee in their community. I would say this, our community would be so vibrant, and people would actually want to be in our community, because other communities, they do not mentor mentees. Because think about it, it takes time, but then you have to care for someone, in which that right there is probably the hardest thing right now for humans. So for me, the relation with Isaiah, it's like, man, this is fun, because I said to him, you know what? I can't wait when you become a mentee, because I'm going to be sitting in the front row, and I'm just going to be like, wow, that technique right there, method preparation. I was like, whoa, where did that come from? But that's the beauty of mentoring that individual. It's going to create something, and it's going to be so simple, but so practical and so effective.
Yeah. I mean, you give a great example, and hopefully it inspires some. Maybe some are listening and wondering. So, I mean, it doesn't have to be that difficult, German. You just reached out, right? So, like, is there like any sort of, can we create an environment where we facilitate that sort of exchange, where young people can reach out and have a mentor, a more experienced guy that can sort of help them through the career? How does your relationship work? How often do you call, or how often do you exchange? And
well, you know what? I would say, if you think about it, to me, for example, we have a Zoom chat with chefs around the world, and suddenly we're just talking. And for me, it's just planting seeds, because the whole thing about when you're mentoring someone else, is it easy? Yes, but someone has to guide you. So one way, right now in my life journey, this is a different chapter. The culinary world, it's like I said, I worked at the Ritz-Carlton Boston Hotel. I worked at Chatham Bars Inn in Cape Cod. I worked at the Harbor Club of Boston, prestigious, institution. Went from, chef to executive chef to cuisine to banquet chef to garde manger chef to saucier, to a cafeteria cook. So I went through the whole gamut, and to me, I know the position inside out. So even though the industry has changed, but those positions still need the same function to actually perform. So for me, it's really talking about, you as the individual. And I would say that's one thing as chef we don't do. We don't, that's a very intimate, that's very sacred, that's very private. And you got to remember, I reached out to Isaiah. Think about it. I mean, I don't see anyone in the world who is established, successful, and especially, age gap to actually reach to this, young, a youngin, a young Jedi. I mean, it just doesn't happen because that is the physics, usually is the other way around. But right now, we have to kind of change the cycle, the thinking, the approach, So it's like meeting a new friend.
Yeah.
And to me, it's just very, it's sincere and it's honest.
Yeah. Hey, so I say you were at the president of the Young Chef Club. World Chef has we have a lot of Young Chef clubs all over the world, and we're trying to urge our senior members, the association, the old boys on the board, to support them, to help them get themselves organized. And so as you as the president, now immediate past president of the ACF Young Chef Club, how can chef associations better support the young chef clubs? Why is it important for them to be supportive of the young chef clubs?
Yeah, I would say one way to do it is kind of like how Chef Lamb did, just reach out and make yourself open to mentor other young mentees and students. Making yourself open is super important, because I feel like a lot of student chefs my age, they might either be a little hesitant to reach out to the senior chefs because they feel a little intimidated, or they don't know in what ways they could help them. But I think it's so important to have a mentor. It's extremely important, and that kind of goes with networking, and I think making opportunities available for students, to like events that they can go to meet these chefs. And I think as a student, from a student's perspective, being a mentee, it's important to put yourself into situations where you're able to meet mentors. And that's one of the greatest things I ever did. One of the greatest things I ever did was going to the ACF convention in Las Vegas. That was the first ever ACF event I've ever been to. I was on an externship, and I remember I was thinking about going. I had asked my chef about it. He was like, "Oh, I'm not part of the ACF, but I guess it's good to go." And then I was asking my other fellow students, and they were like, "Oh, why would you go? Like, it doesn't make sense. You're spending all this money to go for what? You're not going to meet, all these things." And I was like, "No, I want to go. I know it's going to be good for me." So I went, and I went by myself. And I was the only one there, the only student there that went by myself, that I knew of, at least. All the other students went with the group, or they went, with their school, but I was the only one that kind of went by myself. And I think that made me stand out in a way. So I think having the courage to, say, I'm gonna go ahead and do this, because that networking is super, super important. So I was able to go there, and throughout the whole experience, I found nothing but mentors. When I remember the first day I arrived early, I was like maybe an hour early, and I was going down the escalator, and there was a chef there, and he was like, "Nothing's open yet." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So then he was sitting down at the table. So then I went to go sit next to him, and then we just started talking, and he started giving me pointers and advice, and things to do in my career. And then he was throughout the whole convention, I was kind of sticking around him, and he was like, "Okay, go meet this chef, go meet this chef, go meet this chef." So I got to meet a lot of different chefs, get their card. And so I definitely think showing up early, showing up first of all is one of the most important steps, and not being afraid to go up and ask for advice. Because the thing is, a lot of chefs are very experienced, a lot of older chefs, they have a lot of knowledge to give. But most of them aren't like Chef Lamb, where they'll go up to you and they'll be the one seeking a mentorship relationship with you. A lot of them want you to go up to them, and then they'll start opening up to you. And a lot of them, you have to work at it, but I think it's important to at least try to seek a relationship and put yourself in the situation where that can happen, not be afraid to kind of do so. I think is one of the, because that was so many opportunities. Like, I wouldn't be sitting here on this call if I would have if never went to that ACF convention. All of this stuff kind of spiraled from that one event. And if I would have listened to all my friends saying, "Don't go, don't do this, it doesn't make sense," I would have never been in the position I am today. So I think that's one of the biggest things: just sticking with your gut and networking and meeting people, getting outside of the kitchen to make yourself better in the kitchen.
No,
I think
precisely.
it's super important. Yeah.
That's really interesting what you're saying. I said it's like, yeah, you had to really step outside and reach out, and just maybe not so easy for many young chefs who are sort of, yeah, they are shy to reach out, and so what German is saying, what you've done, maybe we need to create a new sort of movement here, is that we have to mentor older chefs to become mentors of mentees.
Think about this. There is a conference, the World Chef in Singapore, and think about, what the schedules are. Pretty much, cookie cutter. Every year the same. Amazing information. Just imagine Isaiah and I were at the conference, and any conference in the world, and instead of cooking demos, we're talking about how our community can actually come together. Because in one way, it's really teaching them how to be a great leader, And to me, the cooking part is the easiest thing. Because once they find love and they understand the ingredients and how it gives it back, but then to connect with humans and think about how many, coaching, counseling the chef has to deal with in the kitchen, those right there could be minimized, or those could be eliminated, because it really comes back down to living a healthy lifestyle, right? Because in our industry, sanitation, respect, and safety are very key. Those are the core of the white jacket, right? And think about, that is my mise en place in life. So to me, you're right about the Yodas. They need to be, I call it reset, because we all do in life. I have mentors who I speak with, because I'm like, hey, I know certain amount at this level, but then, hey, you're older than me. You know what I mean? And that's the beauty of age. It's like you go through the, the good, bad, and ugly, but are you willing to share it? And are you willing to have that individual not, make the same mistakes that you do? Instead, that's how we make our family so vibrant, and it takes someone who's comfortable. And to me, it's like, it's so easy, and because I wanted to say, you know what, I'm going to master this art right here. And it's more like having disciples, because, and that's what you have in martial arts, right? You have disciples, not who could kick someone's butt or knock out that person, but who could take any person and then inspire that dragon warrior in them so they could be icons.
Precisely. Hey, and you did mention an important point. Yes, we have a World Chef Congress in Singapore in October, and there is a Young Chef Forum where young chefs will follow their own program, and we try to allow them to engage in a more closer session with inspirational speakers, with other chefs, and so I really take your point there. It's an important place for young chefs to be, that we must use that opportunity to really talk about what you're saying, German, is that we're not going to teach them how to cook in 3 days at Congress in Singapore, but actually we can all come together as unity as a profession, and to create that network, those through bounds that we can have with each other, and maybe we can set up some sort of mentoring program where when people go back from Singapore, that they are have maybe made a special contact with whom they can continue to nurture relationship with, and they could be overseas, not necessarily from the same country or what have you, but like a global mentoring system.
I mean,
yeah.
I would say this, think about Isaiah and I. Besides our age group, which is like, it's not even close, but think about our culture. That is the beauty of this profession. It's not that we look alike, we look opposite, And to me, to be able to kind of like, it's the yin and yang to come together, it is so powerful. To me, that's what I love about this whole journey. And you just mentioned about, we're planting seeds. And right now we have Zoom. So you can meet another chef in Paris, in Switzerland, in Germany, in Latin America, in Boston.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously, the beautiful thing about our relationship is I've actually never met Chef Lam in person, but
Right.
we kind of Zoom. You have to use what you could use. So if you at the World Chef conference, being able to meet in person at one time, develop a strong connection, and then just nurture it online is definitely doable and powerful. So I think just using what you could use and just not making excuses and just kind of doing it is very important.
Absolutely. Hey guys, thank you for being such a great example to others, and your story is is really good, and I hope to however we can support to make sure it continues, and we can spread it, which is the most important, right?
Definitely.
So thank you both for coming on the podcast. And
of course, thank you for having us. It's such an honor to you were able to be a part of our podcast, and now you having us a part of yours. It means a lot.
It's a great pleasure.
Definitely an honor.
And you look like a great team, and I'm looking forward to following your podcast. We'll put the link on our podcast to your YouTube station there, so people can really see what you're doing, and I hope they get really inspired. That we help everybody break the ice, and reach out, and we create an environment where like it's open for mentoring, and all about the human, not about the cooking. It's about mentoring young people to become true professionals and great persons, right?
Definitely.
And I would say this, the World Chef today, we created and we made history together. And right now, the seed has been planted all over the world. And for me, the veteran, chefs, the Yodas, the master chefs, they will have the real life of something, this passion like they had when they started in the industry. That's the beauty of this industry. It's like we have this life, we have this passion, we have this commitment, the dedication for perfection. This is a different journey where it's human connection. And once you do that, it is like addicting, but the addicting is so beautiful, because it makes you better each day. Because this is a new approach that for us right now, no one has shared and talked about. So I know down the road, there will be even amazing mentors, amazing mentees. That's the beauty, So I just want to say thank you very much for World Chef. Thank you, Ragnar. Thank you, Chef Isaiah. Until, the next chapter.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chef. It's been an honor and a great opportunity, great conversation. I know many people will be impacted by this, so thank you so much. And like you said, Chef, we have podcast number 8 coming up on Monday with Chef Tanya Holland. She is a well-known celebrity chef, owning Brown Sugar Kitchen, and we're going to be talking about cooking with soul. So stay tuned for that.
Excellent. Yeah, we'll share on our podcast. So thank you, guys. Thank you again, Isaiah. Thank you, German, for coming on the podcast. Thank you, everybody, for listening. You're listening to World Chef's podcast. I'm your host, Ragnar, and this is World on a Plate.